Saving animals in America's shelters is difficult on any given day. And then came the pandemic. Hi, I'm Holly Sizemore, Chief Mission Officer for Best Friends Animal Society, and this is Rose, my co-host. Welcome to Saving America's Pets. The COVID pandemic in 2020 was a very difficult time for everyone, and for animal shelters, of course. Instantly, shelters and their staff had to change everything from adoptions to spay-neuter to even the equipment they used every day. Jacksonville, Florida is the largest city by area in America and one of the largest population cities in Florida. And the city of Jacksonville is no kill, thanks in part to the great group Jacksonville Humane Society. How did an organization like Jacksonville Humane Society survive the changes needed during COVID, both the 2020 and now the 2021 versions? Denise Deisler, the CEO of Jacksonville Humane, and Nicolas, the Chief Operating Officer, join us today to share with us how they continue to save lives during one of America's biggest disasters.
Denise, Lawrence, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
To be here.
Denise, what major changes did you guys go through when the pandemic hit? And then what additional changes did you have to undergo in 2021?
It's a great question. We're all getting to be good on our feet, aren't we? When the shutdown order first came, that was probably the biggest changes. And like so many, we split into teams to make sure that we would always have a healthy team here capable of taking care of the animals and serving the community. I think what we did differently than some was we found a way to continue operating. And it was important to us to do that because our government shelter was already closed and was not going to be opening back up again very soon. So we scrambled, we communicated with our local health department and hospital systems to understand and make sure that nothing we were doing would impede in any way the response to human health. And we got a lot of assurance about that. And for example, switch to washable PPE instead of disposable PPE. We did intake in the same fashion we do now, managed by appointments, but we shifted to curbside and again, a lot of the same things that other organizations did, but as we said, we continued operating. The only major program we slowed down on was we do mega community cat clinics on Sundays, and it's just such a high volume and so many people that there wasn't a safe way to do that. So those we suspended. But otherwise, spay-neuter continued, adoptions continued, intake continued. And in fact, there were many places that the demand for it was much higher. Our food bank demand was higher during that time. And so we did some shuffling and shifting. When we came off split teams, which was right after Memorial Weekend, when most everybody else did, we held on to some of the things that we had adopted, like curbside and appointments. But I pretty quickly was getting a lot of feedback from the staff saying, this is cumbersome, it's affecting our ability to effectively and efficiently do things in the same numbers and the same volume that we did before. So at their request, we let go of those things. So we let go of appointments, but we monitored how many people were in the building at a time, for example. We had a laptop outside or a tablet outside the entrance where people signed in to wait, and we allowed them in 10 at a time to process and do what they needed to do. And then a couple months later, when vaccines started becoming available, we let go of all of it. And doors are back open, our policies and procedures are the same. The couple important distinctions and differences, we did mandate vaccines. So everyone on our team must be vaccinated. We only had one resignation when that happened. In fact, most of our staff was very grateful that we were looking out for their safety. We were able to bring a mobile vaccination unit to the site. We're now working with the same mobile unit to get boosters when they are fully approved and ready and we're due for them.
Lawrence, we're hearing a lot about shelters being at or above capacity right now, struggling a little bit because we did reduce down sort of our work so long during the pandemic. What advice would you give other shelters who are at or above capacity right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Holly. And it's something that we discussed at length yesterday with our entire staff at an all staff meeting. And what we're finding is that so many shelters and organizations we're trying to solve the 2021 problem with 2020's solutions. So we really need to put our minds forward into 2021. And that might mean even going further back to 2019 and taking some of those tools that we used to make ourselves successful then and applying them forward. For organizations that maybe weren't doing adoption appointments before and then started them during the pandemic, but we still want to use them now because we find it to be a helpful tool to manage our flow of clients or whatever. But yet we saw our intake resume back from before when adoption appointments weren't a great solution for us. That kind of imbalance is really causing some of those challenges. So I think what's been successful for us here at the Jacksonville Humane Society is making sure that our practices that we're operating with every day are in line with the population, with the need. Because our intake is almost dog for dog, cat for cat, back to where it was before the pandemic. So we know that we're not going to be able to have really strict adoption appointments and those types of controls over all of that. But there are other great tools and ways that you're able to still have some similar control. And like we use a virtual adoption queuing system, and that helps us tremendously to still be able to have some control or an understanding of how many folks are waiting, how long they've been waiting. It also gives us the ability to have a dialogue with people.
I'd add to that, Holly, that I think just like it was at the onset of COVID and through all of it, present day, you heard Lawrence mention the all staff meeting. I think leaderships need to communicate clearly and frequently with the staff is so important during these times. It's our job as leaders to remain calm, give factual information to our team members so that they're not buying into some of the hysteria that tends to fly around on Facebook and other places. And the best way to combat that is to make sure that we're regularly giving them information, that we're available to answer their questions. And so that's another huge change for us during COVID times, is we really amped up our communications venues, vehicles, and frequencies to regular huddles, to regular in-team meetings, the importance of sharing statistics, because to one of Lawrence's points, many of us experience turnover, and so many of our team members were feeling overwhelmed, and the talk was higher intake than ever, and this is overwhelming and we can't handle it. And it's like, no, actually it's not. And so we got them together and we showed them the statistics and let them know, not only, as Lawrence said, are we exactly on par with where we were in 19, showing the statistics gives them a light at the end of the tunnel too. We could say, you know what, we made it this far. Gosh, look at the graph from the last couple of years. Those numbers are going to start coming down. So to make sure that they're well-informed, have good information to work with, brings a level of calm and, oh yeah, we got this.
Be sure to join us next week when we'll continue this conversation with Denise and Lawrence.